Hi guys, it's Amber from Amber Eats Books, and I'm here today to bring you my weekly reads video. This is the video where I tell you what I read last week, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan to read for the next coming week. This past week was just not a great reading week for me. I normally finish anywhere between 3 to 5 books a week. That's about my average. I only finished 2 this week, and I had started one of them the week prior, so it's not like I even read both of those books this week. So it was just a very slow reading week for me. I was just in a slump. I just wanted to binge watch TV. I binged some episodes of Merlin on Netflix. I love that show, it's so good. And then I binge watched the first 5 episodes of This Is Us. Another great show, one of my new favorites. And then I caught up on my other TV, like American Horror Story and Blacklist and Blind Spot. I watch a bunch of shows, so I was trying to catch up on some of them. So I just was not in the mood to pick up a book. I just did not want to do it. And I think part of my slump was because I was between so many books when the week first started. I finished a Goosebumps book, which I did not include in my weekly reads here, only because I made a separate wrap-up video with my daughter. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. And then I had 2 buddy reads going, and then I started another book on my own for my own reading, and I just can't do all those books at once. I think it was way too many, so I think I'm going to, from now on, just do 1 buddy reads at a time if I can, and 1 personal book for my own enjoyment, because it was just too much. But anyway, I don't have a lot, but let's get into what I read anyway. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is Carrie by Stephen King. I actually read this as part of a buddy reads with Tina from the Never Ending Bookshelf. I'll link her channel down below. I had so much fun rereading this with someone who had never read it before. I just loved our chats and seeing her insight into the book. It was so enjoyable for me. I just really loved it. And it was also enjoyable because I was reading this book alongside the next book I'll be talking about, and it was just so interesting to see how raw his writing was in this book compared to how more polished and put together his writing was in the next book that we'll be talking about. So it was just fun to go back and to read this story and to just dive right in to a story that I was familiar with, but that I might not have remembered everything about. Really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely a great read for October. I would even say I might go back and reread this again next year. Not sure. I did really enjoy it, but I enjoyed the next book a little bit more, and that might be my reread for October. We'll see. Anyway, the first line out of this book was, let me see. It was reliably reported by several persons that a rain of stones fell from a clear blue sky on Carlin Street in the town of Chamberlain on August 17th. The next book that I finished this week was Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I actually started this book last week as part of a buddy reads and finished this week, so I didn't really read this whole thing this week, so I only ended up finishing Carrie. Whatever, I'm not upset about it. It is what it is. But I love this book. Again, I read this as part of a buddy reads with Liz and Jay. I will link their channels down below. And it was so much fun reading it with them, seeing their perspectives, just like it was with Tina. I really enjoyed that aspect of the buddy reads, the discussing and the talking back and forth, and sometimes things that I didn't pick up on, someone else picked up on, and really fun. This was another reread for me. But again, it had been so long since I read it that I just could not remember the specific ins and outs of the story. So it was fun rediscovering those. And I really enjoyed the story more than I think I even did the first time I ever read it. Excuse me. It was just so good. It was very scary, but in a very subtle way. It just was not the type of horror story that you go into a Stephen King book thinking you're going to get. Were there definitely horror type elements and gross scenes and things like that? Absolutely. But they're very understated, and they just kind of, when you're reading them, you don't feel like they're affecting you that much until you get a little deeper into the story and you start reflecting on it, and like they just creep into your subconscious, and then you start thinking about it here and there, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is just chilling. I really, really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the introduction that Stephen King wrote to it, because he explained just how this book came to be. he wrote it, and this book scared him. He did not think it would get published. He thought he kind of crossed a line with it, a line that maybe he shouldn't have crossed. And it just happened that he finished this, he put it in a drawer for 6 weeks, and then he was in the process of leaving one publisher for another, and the publisher said, you know, you still owe us one book, and this was the only thing he had written, so he gave it to them and they published it, and the rest is kind of history. But it was just so enjoyable to hear that, because when you read the story, you then pick up on things that are a little bit more deeper and personal to Stephen King. It just added another layer that I completely enjoyed. So I love this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and this will definitely be an October reread for me because I loved it that much. The first line out of this book is, Lewis Creed, who had lost his father at 3 and who had never known a grandfather, never expected to find a father as he entered his middle age. But that was exactly what happened. Although he called this man a friend, as a grown man must do when he finds the man who should have been his father relatively late in life. So those were the only 2 books that I finished this week. I did start a 3rd book, and that was The Broken Eye by Brent Weeks. It is so large, so big. I was having trouble getting into it. I started it earlier in the week, and I think because I was doing these buddy reads and I was like in and out of these 2 books, to then try and go in and out of a 3rd book, it was just getting to be a little overwhelming. For me personally, I just normally can't do that. I'm such a monogamous reader. I normally just read one book straight through. That's it. Once I finished these 2 other books, though, I went ahead and picked this book back up yesterday, and I really got a good chunk of it read. I'm on page 193, and now I'm back into the story. I had no troubles getting into it once these other books could have then been pushed out of my mind, and I could concentrate on this one. So I'm in the story, and I definitely going to be finishing it this week, so I can't wait to find out what happens. It's just so good. The cast of characters is just amazing in these books, so love that. Now, The Broken Eye is quite large, so it's probably going to take me another 2 to 3 days to finish. Once I finish that, though, I would really like to get a start on my Nonfiction November TBR that I posted just a few days ago. So I would like to start with Look Me in the Eye. This just really is the one that I hear calling me. I just want to read it. I hauled it recently too, so it's just new, and I just want something new to read. So once I'm done with The Broken Eye, I'm going to pick this one up. I also need to start a buddy reads this week. I'm buddy reading a book with Krystol from Krystol the Bookworm. I will link her channel down below as well. And we are going to be buddy reading 11/22/63. So we decided on like doing a chapter a day. So again, in and out of this book, but this is a reread for me. So it shouldn't be too bad. And I'm not going to do any other buddy reads right now while I'm trying to read this one. So we are going to start this. If Krystol doesn't like it, or for some reason she can't get into it, we may not continue the buddy read, but I might just go ahead and reread it since I would have already started it. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully Krystol will just love it, and I think you will, Krystol. So yeah, that's the other book I will be working on this week. And then if for some reason I'm able to, finish my Brent Weeks book, finish my nonfiction book, and start my buddy reads, and then I still have time, I still have a book that I want to pick up. Again, I have my library books. Battle Royale, I might choose Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb, or I might choose The Lies of Locke Lamora. So I have these 3 to pick from. I'm not sure. I'm not going to tell you exactly which one I'm going to read because I'm not sure what mood I'm going to be in. Once I'm through these other books, I might decide maybe I don't want to read any of them and I want to pick up another nonfiction. So guess we will see in my next weekly reads video. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great reading week. I hope I have a better reading week. We'll see how it goes. If you guys have read any of these books, please let me know what you thought. What are you guys going to be reading this week? I'd really like to know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week and happy reading.